Hi everyone, this is Paulo Rivera. I am a comic book artist and I wanted to show you today how to use different kinds of textures to create a comic book character. In this case we have the Hulk. So there's all kinds of different textures you can use. Here I am working in Photoshop, but you can use any kind of pen and pencil. As you can see, I've already done most of the hard work. I've drawn the Hulk and written out his name, and then these circles to give you an example of what I'm about to do. So we have stippling. That's where you just create lots and lots of little dots to create a sense of light and shadow on a form. So I'm thinking of this as a sphere, and I'm thinking of the light coming from this way. So if this were on a plane, it would cast a shadow like that. And we also have cross contour and cross hatching. That's where you do lots of little parallel lines. And you can cross them to get a darker effect. And you can do all different kinds of things with this. You can do cross contour, where it actually goes around the form. So you're trying to think of the form in three-dimensional space and go around that form. You can even do things like make the lines thicker and thinner. And this is what they do in engraving. So if you look at a $1 bill and look at all the intricate artwork that's on it, they will vary the line weight in order to show light and shadow. And it looks like I've drawn the AT&T logo, but that just goes to show you it's effective. You can go back in, you can cross things as well. Alright, so let's start on the Hulk. I usually like to darken the hair, but in this case we're just going to use a lot of little short strokes. Just so we can get a solid outline. So what I'd usually do is just make this all dark within here, but since this is all about texture, I really want to get in there and show you how each hair goes. And you'll be able to see where I'm leaving it white to show a highlight around the top. And I'm also varying the pressure of my pen to get a thick to thin. So here's a more pronounced example. You start out thin, you press harder, you get thicker, and then you go thin again, like that. So I'm doing that on a much smaller scale and much faster. It's usually a good idea to pick where you want the light to come from. So I'm going to just stick with what we have here and have the light coming from the top and to the right. So that being the case, we just have to think where the light would hit. That's actually where the spheres come in handy, because you can use them as a guide to plan where the light would hit and where it wouldn't, thus creating shadow. I'm going to switch to a different brush because this one isn't quite giving me what I need. Okay, here's a much smoother one so you guys can get a better sense of what it looks like. Yeah, that's much better. So here's some cross contour. Oh, using too much memory. That's why you guys should stick to the traditional tools, because if you draw too fast with a pencil, all you have to worry about is starting a fire, which I guess is still pretty dangerous. But it won't slow you down, that's for sure. So again, I'm really doing two things at once. I'm creating a sense of light and shadow, but I'm also thinking about the three-dimensional form. So if I really want to go nuts, I can continue doing the cross-hatching even on the light side, but I'm going to use very, very thin strokes, and I'm going to space them out a little bit more widely. And what this does is it still gives you that three-dimensional sense of going around the form, but it doesn't darken your form as much as a thicker stroke would. As with anything, it just takes a lot of practice and a lot of experimentation. You'll get more comfortable the more you do it. You could even do it like a cast shadow by drawing around it. This is coming from the nose and then going back in, going like that. Maybe it comes over here too. It always helps to have reference. I'm just kind of drawing this out of my head right now. And I'm gonna say that's my excuse for this not coming out the way I want it to, but oh well. Erase a little bit. Even though the Hulk's a big guy, I usually give him a kind of a weak chin. Put more of an emphasis on the mouth and his brow. I like having a big, thick, heavy brow. That's what makes him look like the Hulk and not just some big guy. And I like darkening the underlids too. There we go. Now he's looking a little bit more like the Hulk. Kind of like a Frankenstein kind of look. Boris Karloff. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better. This chin would pretty much all be in shadow. And then you can do things like this. So let's say we have this lip and we want it to have a highlight. We can do all of these little lines like this, and then we can go back in with white, and then he's got a little highlight. You can make that more pronounced if you want, but it's just one of the many options you have when you are cross-hatching. Alright guys, I think that is about all I can show you. The rest you just have to kind of figure out for yourself by practicing and practicing and practicing some more. And if you really want to make the Hulk look good, the best thing you can do is make funny faces in the mirror. That's always what I do. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Take care.